And you mentioned that you've obviously write other characters, and so you work with other people as well. And I know that the people you work with change from one play to another. How do you go about it, communicating with people and leading them to the final product?
So I like also, apart from writing plays, I also like to write short stories or prose. And they give you more control than a script ever can. Okay. Because you can only do so much. The actor can completely change your idea of the character. Because obviously everyone is subjective, and I might see something one way and then the actor would use another tone, another emotion, which is not always bad. Sometimes I like it. It's a new thing for me to see it. It's very challenging. But sometimes I also get surprised from the way actors see a character. Okay. It changes from what I originally had in my mind. But I do tend to, from time to time, as in people do change, but some people do remain the same. So it's like I also get used to the people, their touch, their feeling, how they would be more comfortable in one thing. So I do tend to have an idea from beforehand the types of people who would fit in a character. I'm not saying that I write with an actor in mind, but I would say, okay, like these type of actors will be good for this character. But I think as in communication is also very important, as in sometimes I can understand that like an actor is not feeling it, and it happens, and as in that way we have to talk, we have to find more common ground. It's not always easy to understand a character. Last year we had a play about domestic violence. One of the actors was an abuser, a perpetrator. How do you go about that? How do you understand this character? And obviously then I think that's the talent of the actor, that they go home sometimes without me and they manage to watch films, to read books, to do their own research. And it's amazing how self-sufficient actors, even, we're not professional actors, we're a group of volunteer actors, but the interest that they take and the more they reflect on the character usually gives the character uniqueness that is not there present when I first give the script. And also, as in eventually you build a relationship with your own character, which is ultimately the point where the connection happens. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yes. How do you handle dealing with different people? Because obviously many things when skills come into play in that, because you have to handle the stress of presenting something to quite a large audience, and theater gives you the opportunity to. It's live, so you can't take things back once they are out.
And you get an immediate reaction.
Yes. How do you handle that in preparation? How do you prepare yourself and your team for that? You mentioned that people are actors or volunteer actors, but with some training as well, so they are aware of this. But you are the person directing the play. How do you prepare yourself and your team to go out there and be confident enough?
I tend to be quite an overthinker. So let's say that I had few unpredictable problems that happened. I usually predict them. It doesn't mean that I would find the solutions, but at least we would have discussed a bit how things would go. I think mostly it's trial. It's doing it over and over and over again. That's the easiest way to gain confidence. But obviously, as in it's the reality of the stage. You have a live audience. You don't know how things are going to go. Then obviously comes the skill of improvisation and obviously of teamwork. Sometimes it happens that, a person forgets a line. It happens, there are so much lines you need to know. Yeah. It's okay, we will move on, as in we go around the play. Once it's a funny joke that I tell to when like someone joins my team and they would tell me, I'm so worried that I will forget a line. I tell them once, I skipped 3 pages in a script. And the person I was acting with was so skilled and so good at improvisation that she managed to take me back 3 pages to continue the conversation from when we left off. Okay. Which is, it's also a nice feeling that you feel supported. Usually, as in, yes, there are monologues, but usually acting happens in a team. And everyone has each other's backs, and we improvise, and if someone forgets a line, then we would go around it. And I think the more, how I'm stuck for the word right now, the more familiar you are with the
and prepared
with the
as well, because you mentioned rehearsals.
And connected with the team, the more you have trust in the other teammates. And the easier it is to sort of, okay, knowing that I will go out there, I will do my best. Obviously, I will not try to make any mistakes. But if something happens, I'm confident that together we can fix it.
And I think that there is an element to... So, there is a theory and it says when, in order for a team to become stronger, they need to go through adversity together. And to a certain extent, you are going through an adversity through plays, and not necessarily adversity, but you're in a position where you have to be vulnerable enough to wear someone else's costume. You wear someone else's identity, and be okay with exhibiting that sort of behavior. You mentioned the perpetrator. It's not, for sure, it's not easy to impersonate that character, because most... at least if I were to put myself in that position, my worry would be that the audience would associate me with that sort of person.
And it was funny. We had some reactions. It was funny because we did that show on 3 nights, and on each night there was an audience member who told me I was this close to going on stage and stop him from actually hitting her.
This is some
it
reality.
Wasn't true. No one was hitting. It was like, some very complicated techniques that we saw on YouTube on how to make a slap look like a slap, but it's not really a slap. But people had emotional responses, and they hated the character a bit.
And that's not easy. So you have to feel safe enough in the team that you create, that you can impersonate that character and sort of having that supportive system within the people that are colleagues at that point in time. So
especially like you borrowed this example of the perpetrator, as in obviously had to fake hit the victim. So obviously they needed a good connection to know, okay, okay, now we're going to start, I'm going to grab you aggressively, but as in making sure that I'm not hurting you. So it requires a lot of communication, not just verbal, but also physical communication.
I think that would make me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
I think it was a very challenging play as well. It was a 4-person show, and it was very intimate even between the actors themselves, which makes it easier. Sometimes when it's a larger cast, it's fun, there are more people, but it also leads to more distractions, to more, more people in the background. So sometimes certain delicate scenes are harder to get into and harder to interpret.
Yeah. And as I was going to say, it is... I would find that person... I would be up for that, but it would be personally challenging to impersonate someone like that.